So before we get started on the song, Buddy, Can You Spare a Dime? I wanted to let you know that the lyrics are on the Moodle site for the course, so you can go ahead and take a look at those, maybe print them off or have them available on another device while you're listening to this, although I'll also talk a little bit about the lyrics as we go along here. So this song was written by Harburg in 1932. 1932, as you've already heard, was peak year of unemployment during the Great Depression. So a time when people really felt low and when people knew that there were a lot of people unemployed and bread lines were all over the place, and people saw that, witnessed that. So this was performed and produced at a time when people really felt the Great Depression keenly. And I think you can hear that in the song. So what I'm going to do here is play the prelude of the song and sing these first few, the first verse here. The prelude, the whole song is written in the key of E flat, but it's also in a minor key. And I don't know if you know anything about music, but if I just play a C major chord, sorry, like this, it's bright sounding. If I play C minor, it's this, which sounds a little darker and a little more sinister. And I think that's how the writer of this song wanted the music to sound, a little dark and a little sinister, because this was a serious piece of music and a door type of music, and the lyrics are dur. So he wanted to write this in kind of a minor key. So let's hear how this starts now. They used to tell me I was building a dream, and so I followed them all. Where there was earth to plow or guns to bear, I was always there, right out on the job. So that's the prelude of the song. I think I'm going to stick with that, even though there was a mistake in there. And then the music develops a rhythm to it, not, mind you, overwhelming rhythm, but there's definitely a push forward here. And so let's look at the lyrics that follow. The first verse says, "Once I built a railroad, made it run, made it race against time. Once I built a railroad, now it's done. Buddy, can you spare a dime?" So you get the sense of moving on with the railroad. I think this is a brilliant song, obviously. And so part of the brilliance is how the music mirrors the lyrics. So Harburg and Gorny took these lyrics that Harburg wrote and figured out how to make the music match it and help get the message across. So the next verse then is, "Once I built a tower to the sun." So these are the skyscrapers that we talked about early in the class when we did urbanization. "Brick and mortar and lime. Once I built a tower, now it's done. Buddy, can you spare a dime?" So what's going on here is a man is reflecting on how he helped build a nation. The nation is all about building things like railroads, transportation. We talked about how the uniting of the railroad at Promontory Point in Utah helped bring the nation together and help build the industrialization and spread industrialization across into the West. And the skyscrapers, of course, were standing symbols of the success of industrialization and industrial capitalism in the United States. So he's helped build all these things, and now he's begging for a dime. Now he's unemployed, even though he did all these things in the past to help the nation grow. Now he's got nothing, and he's begging his friend for a dime. Now the climax to this song, I think, happens in the last verse. So if you turn to the last verse, where it says, once in khaki suits. Who's in khaki suits? Well, of course, a soldier. So now he's talking about the First World War. And apparently he was a soldier during the First World War, and he was decked out in his khaki suit, just like all of his buddies were. Gee, we looked fine, it says, full of that Yankee doodly dum. 500,000 boots went slogging through hell. And that's pretty accurate. There were about 500,000 American soldiers in the First World War. I was the kid with the drum, meaning I was part of the drum corps, and I beat my drum. And by the way, if you look at the music here, it says, there's a note here that says, in a strict tempo. So play the chord it's saying in a strict tempo. Once in khaki suits, gee, we looked fine, full of that Yankee doodly dum. I was the kid with a drum. So then the climax here is say, don't you remember? Don't you remember? They called me Al. It was Al all the time. So Al is just a nickname. This was the age of nicknames. Everybody had a nickname, and this guy's nickname was Al. Al is a common name. So you might say that the lyricist here is saying, I was just like everybody else. My nickname was Al. It was Al all the time. Say, don't you remember? I'm your pal. Buddy, can you spare a dime? So in other performances, I've heard of this song too. The vocalist will, the voice will go down and say, kind of break, in fact, and in sort of desperation, buddy, can you spare a dime? And that's the end of the song. So again, this is a music that's all about the greatness of the American society that once was, and the ways in which the Great Depression left that great nation in tatters, the way that people felt that the great nation they had helped to build was now turning their backs on them by leaving them to beg for a dime. And so it's a very somber music. It's not like Over the Rainbow, which again is another Harburg song that he wrote the lyrics to, which is at least more hopeful. This really isn't hopeful, and it ends on that kind of somber note. So again, this is Buddy, Can You Spare a Dime? Kind of an anthem of the Great Depression and the sense of disillusionment that a lot of people felt during this time period. Thanks for listening.